Hi. Welcome to the Boss Club. We've had a week off, but we're back. We're going to be talking to Pips Taylor. I'm excited. Got my water. I think I put on a lot of bronzer. I look tanned. Hello. Hello. Thanks for joining. This is the Boss Club. As always, put your questions in the comments. Do the hearty thing if you like us talking about something in particular, because I love the hearty thing. And all of these, the Boss Clubs, are on my IGTV, so you can catch up. And I've started adding them to my YouTube channel because then they have captions. So yay, my fellow deafies with hearing aids. I've worked out how to do it with captions. Pips is here. Oh, someone did a hearty thing. I love the hearts. Makes me feel all... I live alone during lockdown. So a little heart on a screen makes me feel warm inside. Thank you all for joining. I think Pips is with us. Let's... Live. Shall I do a live countdown? In 4, 3, 2... Oh my God, hang on. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Oh, you look so snazzy.
Mate, I dressed up for you. I put on some glitter, I put on some lipstick, and I was like, cheers to you.
Cheers. Oh, I've only got water. Sorry. Also, I'm sitting next to like my
You're washing?
Laundry. Just cut that out of the frame.
How are you?
You?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I live alone.
I know.
I'm very ready for lockdown to be over. I went to the garden centre today.
Oh my God, that's big. That's like highlight of the week.
Yeah.
What went down at the garden centre?
Well, I looked up non-toxic plants for cats.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I found a lovely one, Cathea or something it's called.
Okay.
And it's got big leaves with little pink lines in them. So I bought that.
Oh, yeah, those are really pretty. Great choice.
Yeah, well, because my cat has started munching on plants. It's like a new thing. Sure. And loads of them I realised.
Just to test you, just to kind of check you're still watching, check you still care.
She's like, you're not doing much. You're at home all the time. I was like, enough of it. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. Do you know what? I'm good. I've had a really good week this week. Last night I actually hosted my first ever live charity art auction.
I saw it.
And it was possibly one of the most enthralling things I've ever done. And it was a 2-hour live in the end. And we were selling loads of artwork, all for charity, all for, it's Art for Charity Collective, and it's for A Space Between, which is a charity that provides therapeutic supplies for art therapy, basically, in hospitals, with patients, nurses, and that kind of thing. And do you know what, Sam? I now want to be an auctioneer.
I can imagine you do. I can imagine you really good at it with a little gavel.
Yeah, look, I've got...
Sold. Did you get it off the internet?
Yeah, I was like, stop.
Oh my God.
Have a time. And it really, I just loved it. I was like, I really enjoyed it, basically. So I'm feeling good today because it was so exhausting. I didn't expect it, but one guy was like, this is like watching the Grand National, because I was like, can I get a 650? Have I got a 700? Someone's going to have to take it up to 8. It was literally like verbal diarrhea. Anyway,
it's like performing for 2 hours, isn't
it? Yeah, and I'm, you know me, I love a bit of performing, so.
Please, I want one of those gavels just for my life.
Do you know what? It's the kind of thing. Today, I've actually, like, when I've had my list, I've been ticking things off and then giving it a little knot, and it's really satisfying.
You need a gong as well. Like, finish your to-do list. Gong.
That's a really good idea, actually, a gong, because then it'd be really soothing and chilled.
Or loud and intense.
Or loud, yeah. I more had, like, sort of sound bath gong meditation. That's what I associated it with, but maybe not.
I was thinking like the big gong that they sometimes have at the beginning of film titles, which is like really loud.
Yeah.
Well, lots of love for you in the art auction in the comments, so that's nice.
Thanks, guys.
But we're going to be talking a bit about being a boss. I guess doing an art auction is quite bossy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like I was really bossing it last night. Because I think obviously I was in control of, and like all the comments are coming in, and I was picking things out, and it's great when you're doing, with it being live. It's like with this, like the comments are engaging and people are really excited, and it was like this new type of energy. So yeah, I think that you're bang on there. I've kind of bossed it. But it's funny because there's so many connotations around the word boss that for me I just go, oh, I'm not a boss. I'm like, but I know I am. But my idea of a boss is, some sort of, middle-aged man in a suit, and it's really corporate. And I think that's definitely changing. But for the, for the first part of my career, that's what I was like, that's a boss. I'm not a boss. But actually preparing for this really made me like, it kind of consolidated and that actually I am a boss. So thank you, because you've made me feel really boss-like.
It's you being a boss, but you're welcome still. So it's funny you say that, because I think that's why I started this series. I've always thought of, boss is like middle-aged white man in a pinstripe suit.
Yeah.
And actually there
with
are
a
so
shit
many
shirt.
amazing, and a weird tie that is like funny, and they make jokes about it, and then you're like,
get a new one.
But actually I know so many amazing bosses, female entrepreneurs, like people who even in lockdown have like set up their own companies, or who are just bossing it. So that's why I think it's just important to talk about it with people who aren't a middle-aged white man in a suit.
Totally. And I think this is such a brilliant series, and I'm really honoured and feel very thrilled that you've asked me. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, I think you're bossing it, but I need to ask you the question. What does bossing it mean to you?
I think bossing it means getting through the day without having a meltdown.
Sure. I like that.
I mean? Bossing it means just kind of for me, it's just getting on with it, being focused, and just doing what you set out to do. And sometimes it can be that day, sometimes it can be that week, sometimes it can be around a project. But I don't want to give too much weight to the term bossing it, because I like it, and I feel I do own it, but not all the time. And I think it's also it's okay to not feel like you're totally bossing it all the time. I feel like we have this pressure on us as women, as entrepreneurs, as business women, as with multi sort of faceted careers, and you've got lots of like with you're juggling lots of different things, and I feel there's a lot of pressure on to be bossing it. And I think it's okay. I like the term, and sometimes I'm like, and then in other days I'm like, I am not bossing it, and it makes me feel sad that I'm not bossing it. But it's because you can't boss it every single day, but you can get close. So it's okay to not boss it as well. Does that make sense?
That's a pressure that you're putting on yourself.
Totally.
To be bossing it every day.
Totally. Yeah. I'm awful. This is one of the things that I've been trying to work on, because you kind of, and especially like I had a burnout in my 20s, and you kind of constantly flogging the horse, and especially in our industry, you don't want to say no to things, and you don't want to turn things down, and you get into this sort of cycle of trying to be a boss in your own head. But actually, you're totally right, it is pressure that I put on myself. I'm trying not to put as much on, but does that answer your question?
Well, I totally relate. I put way too much pressure on myself all the time. Like only today I was talking to someone, and I was like, I've got one book out and I'm working on another book, but really I should have this other book being published. And she was like, hang on.
Yeah.
You've got one book out and you're, bringing another book out and it's been commissioned. Like, for a second, just think about that and congratulate yourself. But
totally.
I think our industry especially, and obviously other industries, but this is the one I'm in, so it's the one I can comment on, is so like the next thing and the next thing, and then you forget to sort of go, actually, looking back at my body of work, I am bossing it overall.
Looking at my oeuvre over the past year / past 10, do you know what, you're so right on that. And I think it's I totally agree with what you're saying. I totally forgot what I was going to say as well, sorry.
No worries.
Not bossing it. An example of not bossing this interview.
But I think this is interesting as well, because a lot of people I talk to And I would have said at the beginning of doing these interviews that bossing it was someone like super in control, like knows exactly where they're going, really focused and just like achieving and like being successful. And actually, everyone I've spoken to who I think are bossing it in life, including you, are always like, there are days when I'm 100% not bossing it. And I wonder if you know, we need those, but it's very Brené Brown, but we need those moments, and we need those failure moments to realize when we're bossing it. Because if you were bossing 24/7, would you even think you were bossing it?
No, and I also don't think you'd appreciate things. And you know, just going back to what you were saying about, like, you know, enjoying, it's important to try and enjoy the journey and to kind of give yourself a pat on the back every now and again, and actually really acknowledge like how far you've come and where you've been. And if you do finish a project and it's really great and, you know, you're on to the next thing, I think, you know, I think it's really important to celebrate the self. And that's, I actually set up with a friend that's called the Self-Celebration Club, and we, you know, get lots of freelancers together and people who have their own businesses and all sort of like within like creative industries and media industries, and we just sort of go around the table. We have like lunches, we go around the table and we're like, right, what's everyone got going on? How, you know, what are you proud of? What that you've done? Like, give yourself a pat on the back. Let's raise a glass, and then how can everyone around the table help each other with the next project? And I think that we are not encouraged to take moments to celebrate and to take moments to be like, do you know what, I did really well with that, and do you know what, actually I made that happen. It's like with you, like you wrote a book, you made that happen. That's phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think, you know, I'm a really, you know, most of the time very positive, I'm very enthusiastic, I'm optimistic, and I just think we don't give ourselves enough sort of, like, what's it called, not but like cheerleading. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, cheerlead ourselves and each other.
Exactly.
I think that's so nice that you go around the table and you're like, oh, you know what, tell us about you, and then celebrate it. Because I feel like a lot of the time I feel uncomfortable sort of announcing my achievements.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes, especially social media, because we all compare to each other. So when you're having a rubbish day and then you go on and you see loads of other people announcing their achievements and you're like, I haven't achieved anything today. I'm still in my
Also, not just today. For me, it's like I haven't achieved anything for ages. Do you know what I mean? And can I just say on that, congratulations on your 100,000 followers for the Divorce Club, because that is amazing.
Thanks. It was 100,000 downloads.
That's 100,000 downloads. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. You know, sorry, one thing. Yeah.
No, thanks. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's one of those. It's funny with. I was talking to my friends about it, and I was like, shall I even share that I've got to 100,000?
Totally.
Or is it a bit of a weird thing to share? And actually, I was super proud of it, because the Divorce Club, my podcast, you know, I talk to other people who've got divorced. I'm divorced. It was something that I just set up, and it started at the beginning of the first lockdown, and I've just sort of kept it running on my own. And at times I'm like,
it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Doing this, there's so much admin. But actually, all the comments from people who listen and are like, you know, this has made me feel less alone and stuff, have meant so much to me. And so 100,000 downloads just felt like I'd felt proud of it. So I was like, okay, well, if I feel proud of it, like, you know, some podcasts have got 1 million downloads and it's nowhere near that. But I thought I just want to share that I'm proud of this, and also that it's become more of a community. So it's less my thing, and it's more like all of the divorced people's thing.
Yeah, but you know, you're right. You're so right to share it. But I totally agree with you in the sense that sometimes you're like, you feel a bit uncomfortable. You feel, you know, almost like shy. And you're not a shy person. I'm not a shy person. But why are we so shy on our achievements? Do you know what I mean? It's like, where does that come from? And actually, I think, you know, I want to encourage people to like really celebrate achievements, because life's hard enough. You've got to celebrate your wins and the small ones and your daily little ticks, even however big or small. And I think, you know, one day I'll be bossing it, and I will have done like a shoot and a radio show and a DJ gig, and it'll be like wow, 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 bash, bash, bash. And then others, I'm like, literally, I got out of bed and I took the dog for a walk, and I'm still here, and that's also bossing it for me, because it's so much to do on your mind frame. And I think also bossing it is, you know, it's very career minded, but there's so many other ways that you can boss it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you say celebrate all the small achievements, because I even have a poster on the wall of my kitchen by Ella Masters, who's a brilliant illustrator, that says celebrate your small achievements. It's on the wall of my kitchen. I still don't do it. But I was going to say, do you think that lockdown and the whole situation over the last year has changed the parameters a bit for success and bossing it and achievement?
Definitely. But I also think that it wasn't sustainable or realistic beforehand, because I don't think that you can, like, I believe that we can have it all, but not at the same time. So whether you want to boss it in your career or your family or your relationship or a new side hustle, you know, all these things and all these demands, all these pressures, I think, yes, you know, we were all striving so much, but we were also totally burning out. We were on no sleep, you know, kind of out all day, every day, constantly sort of, you know, networking, working, like, brrr, you know, this silent, you know, this is me, by the way. And I loved it, but also it wasn't sustainable. And, you know, I learned the hard way in my 20s, because I had a burnout and had to take time off. And that, you know, that then sort of like this word balance, which again, I don't really like, but we need it. And I'm trying to think of another word for it. But I feel like bossing it is so career minded, and actually you've got to look at the whole 360, and that's what I think lockdown has provided for all of us, is actually forced time to reflect on who we are, what we want, what's important, and how do we want to step forward. Because so many people were living lives that, you know, they probably enjoyed part of it, but they were, you know, you're working sort of 12, 16-hour days, and then, you know, you're coming home and you don't really see your kids and you don't really see your wife, you know, and it's amazing, and hats off to you for doing that. But at the same time, it's like, how sustainable is that? How much do you actually enjoy that, you know?
Yeah, people agreeing in the comments. I think it's interesting, because obviously there's so many horrific things about the last year and the pandemic.
Yeah.
But there's also
Totally,
this whole sort of new mental health wellness, like we've all had to sit with ourselves. You know, even I live alone, so I really have sat with myself and my cat. But even if you know, live with other people, we've all had to take that sort of step down from that pace of life. And I think I know I have realised that I was definitely moving at way too high octane. I have to do this, and in some ways it's been nice to have
but that high octane and is sort of, it's really addictive, you know, and it's like the adrenaline and what you're running on, but it's also, again, you know, it's not realistic. And I think the forced time out that we've had, this like pause, which has obviously affected people in so many different ways. It's been the making of some people, it's torn other people apart, and it's but that, with all said and done, like the only great thing to have come out of it is, as you say, for us to sit with ourselves and actually really think. And it was not very nice, you know, you're being forced to sit with yourself. You really have to face a lot of things about yourself that you would usually be going at a million miles an hour, so you wouldn't have to address, or you wouldn't notice. So that's, I think we've all learned an awful lot, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my divorce finally came through during this last bit of lockdown.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. But yeah, so that this whole time I've been sitting with like all of those emotions that I hadn't dealt with before.
Of course,
like,
yeah.
In Magic Mike, which, you know, was great, but I wasn't dealing with my emotional relationship trauma. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting journey for a lot of people, and I think I've never considered bossing it and like being successful at emotions before, whereas this year I really have.
That's a really interesting thing, because I think it's bossing it with your emotions is like, that's really big, deep, heavy stuff, to have to be like, to be able to go there and allow yourself the time and the space, and to kind of to process all the emotion, like whatever emotion or trauma that you're going through, is is really, really important. But I feel like not many people allow themselves to go there, or have the the openness or the willingness to go there. So hats off to you for doing that, mate. I think that's amazing.
I mean, there was a lot of anger. I said to a
I'm
friend,
not.
reminded me that I said this, and I didn't realize I said it. Apparently, I said to her in a conversation once, um, anger is like a bad curry, it just has to come out.
That
And
is
I
a
was like,
great line.
that's great. I'm going to use that in stand up. But it's true. And I think all of these emotions that
Mm,
I definitely have been suppressing have all come out during
yeah,
lockdown.
yeah,
Lovely.
but it's
Um,
it's good.
yeah, it is. No, it has been, well, it's been good for me. But you mentioned a couple of times
Yeah.
there that you had a burnout in your
Yes.
20s. Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Oh my God, totally. Yeah. I mean, I was going a million miles an hour, and it was manifesting itself in my body. So I was like really not tired. I was working as a runner and then as a producer at the time, so it was right at the start of my career. I've had a couple actually, but you just go and go and go, and you push and push and push, and you keep expecting your mind and your body to be able to keep up with each other. And then, unless you look after it, eat both your mind and your body, you just spontaneously combust, and you kind of like have meltdowns and panic attacks, and you have to go and rest, and you're on antibiotics. Like I had, like, it's awful, like ulcers all over my mouth because I was just so run down. And it's just silly things that when you look back now, you're like, oh my God. But in your 20s, you think you can do those things, and you can, nothing hits you, nothing affects you. Whereas now I feel like we've all really learned to like look after ourselves a bit more. And even like things like exercise and having a bath and like all these little things, like I was just expecting to keep going, bam 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 bam, and getting really pissed off with myself when I couldn't keep going, and not understanding why. And then actually you're like, whoa, hang on a minute, you've got to give yourself a chance to breathe.
Yeah. And I mean, having ulcers in your mouth and stuff
Oh, it
is
was so
stress.
it's
Because
really
I wanted to
painful.
ask, what were because you said it started showing in your body.
Yeah.
Other than, I'm just thinking if anyone is like, oh, I
Mm,
feel like I'm
yeah.
having bad.
Yeah.
Like, what were the physical symptoms that were
So
happening?
yes, I suppose they were like also like not sleeping, like really tired, like losing weight, just exhaustion. I'd go and see my mum, and she'd be like, "Oh, I need." Do you know what I mean? Are you all right? And you're like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to do it all, trying to have everything, and burning the candle at both ends, because again, that's what you do when you're in your 20s. Like that's what you live for. Whereas now things are sort of like much calmer, and I feel like a lot more, I suppose, in control of everything, rather than sort of zipping around like a little ferret, kind of here, there, and everywhere, trying to do everything and help like please everyone and get all the jobs that I can, and more, like get in this sort of like hamster wheel of our industry.
And so with the burnout, as
Mm.
you describe it, what was the final straw? Like, was there a moment where you were like, oh my God, this is too much, I have to take time off?
Yeah, well,
Or
when I
was
went
it
to the
your
doctor,
decision? Or
and they were
yeah,
like, they were like, you're completely exhausted, and I was like in floods of tears, and they were like, you need to rest, like you need time off work, you are not coming in for 2 weeks. And I basically got signed off. And it's like, that's actually quite a sort of big, you know what I mean, big thing, because I'm there like, keep going, keep going, and he's like, no, no, absolutely not. So yeah, that was a massive wake up call. And I think, but it didn't, it happens once and you're aware of it, and then you can feel when you're going there again. So then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take half a day, or I'm going to take a day, or I'm going to try and have some downtime. And I need much more downtime and chill time now than I used to when I was younger. Just for obvious reasons, energy, everything. And I think it's like you've got to nurture yourself. You can't just keep going flat out and expecting yourself to just keep because also it affects your mind. You know what I mean? It affects like how you talk to yourself. It affects how how you think, and you know, if you're knackered and you're kind of keep trying to achieve things, but you can't get, you know, you can't get to where you want to go because you're, you know, you're having to battle with your own demons in your head. That's a really, that can spiral quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that talking to yourself in a bad way is so important because and yeah, Ellie's commented that she agrees.
Yeah.
True
Hi,
words.
Ellie.
Because I think I found myself in times, especially this year,
Mm.
like calling myself horrible names in my head
Yeah,
and then being like, no, hang
but
on,
it's
like having an
it
argument with myself.
no, totally. But also, it's like you'd never say those things about another person, would
Yeah.
you? But it's we're so cruel to ourselves, and this is something that I am really, you know, in the past kind of like couple of years when I've done like also quite, you know, been on a quite a spiritual journey and really made time for myself and really into kind of self-care and meditation, and you know, being when you start to kind of do that kind of work and you're aware of your thoughts and what you're doing and how you talk to yourself and how you think about yourself and how you reflect on what you do, we are our own worst critics. But it's like rewiring that mindset to try and, you know, to be able to talk back. And you know, if you're really cruel to yourself and you're, you know, feeling really low and you're, you know, sometimes I get in a bit of a funk and in a bit of a spin, it's like, okay, well, you look, you know, maybe you've called yourself something like really negative, you're like, oh, you know, you don't, you something like, you know, you wouldn't be worthy enough for that job or something like that, which is like very much like self-confidence and self-belief. You know, you have to look at like the evidence against it. So I have, you know, I have these sort of, when I have those bad days, I look at it and I'm like, right, well, let's look at the evidence for that, and let's look at the evidence, you know, and it's like all these basic tools that I've learned throughout, you know, counseling and therapy and spiritual work that I think it's just really important, and it's also so important to talk about these things.
Yeah, definitely. I think even like during lockdown, you know, I put on weight during lockdown, like a lot of people did. And then I'd be like looking in the mirror, like grabbing my stomach and thinking, fat bitch. And
Oh
then one day
no,
I was like, no.
no, good,
And I just flipped it. And then I was like, skinny bitch. And then
yeah,
even just saying skinny bitch at myself in the mirror made me
yeah.
feel nicer. This is a personal
And
thing. You can choose your own phrase. And then I started like a little song of like
yeah,
skinny bitch. And I was like
yeah,
dancing around my bedroom and it just immediately cheered me up.
I
So
love it. And
try that.
it's yeah, and that is such a good point. And it's also, it's turning these things into like an empowering thing, you know, and it's like trying to turn the negative into a positive, and you know, thinking about like mindset. And actually I do a lot of work with this amazing lady called Poppy Delbridge. She's got House of Possibility, I'm sure you
Yeah.
know her. And she's,
Tapping.
yeah, and she does all the tapping and she's just amazing. And I think when you take the time to sort of think about yourself and how you talk about yourself, like, and you know, you turn like negatives into positives, and so you're constantly trying to look how to like reframe things, so much good can come out of that. And I think, you know, some people, it's a bit woo woo for some people, I totally get that, and it's not for everyone, but I found that for me has been really helpful. And kind of, you know, because equally, you know, when you're, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm self-employed, I obviously work for myself, and I, you know, it's great to be in charge, but also if I'm not feeling kind of in the right frame of mind, then it's really difficult to start pitching and being on all the time. And you know, it can be really exhausting, and you need to get that kind of like energy and that sort of reinvigorative, like you need to feel empowered and reinvigorated in other ways. And I get that from people, you know. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought, but I was really enjoying that.
No, but I agree with what you said. Like being self-employed is an interesting one
Yeah.
because it can be really great because there's no one telling you what to do. But
Hmm.
equally, when you're unmotivated, sometimes it's useful to have a boss be like, "Come on, you're amazing.
Definitely.
You can do this."
Yeah.
Whereas you just have you, and you're like, "I can't do it. I'm just gonna
But
eat."
it's funny because that's why I have quite a lot of friends who are in my industry who I make sure that we have like, you know, catch ups with, and we sort of help each other with projects and bounce ideas, because it's so hard to constantly come up with everything on your own. And obviously I know that that's also a really privileged position, and it's a, you know, I'm really lucky to be where I am. But you know, you've also got to, you know, sustain it and kind of try, and you try new things, see what works, see what sticks, throw a load of shit at the wall. Do you know what I mean? See what sticks.
I always thought that's such a weird phrase because, like, who throws actual shit at a wall?
I'm so with you, but
And, like,
I
the
also quite
walls would
like
not
it.
be nice. Like, and where are
Yeah,
you getting this shit from? Is it
yeah.
your bathroom? Is it like pet shit? Anyway,
Unicorn shit.
I go off on a tangent, but I worry about these things. So I think what we've talked about here is that bossing it is also nurturing yourself
Yeah,
and being positive with yourself.
yeah,
But if we think about it in a work perspective,
yeah.
what do you think are the best traits for a boss?
I think someone who's honest, someone who's open, and someone who's kind. I don't like mean, nasty people. I don't work with people that aren't on the same kind of page. Like, obviously, you want people who deliver and get really, really good results, but you want to bring out the best in people. And I think that is the key of being a boss, is to know how to do that and know how to connect and basically encourage and invigorate others to 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 lead the way as well as you.
And have you had any amazing bosses that you can think of that
Yeah, I have had some great bosses. Yeah, and she was like, I really looked up to her. And she was totally ninja at her job, really high up in TV, gave me my first big break in entertainment. And yeah, I was just like, I want to be like you, you know? And I think it's really important to have those kind of, realistic role models that aren't kind of, leap years away, that are kind of within your reach. And she was a great mentor to me as well. And I think that that's really important, is having people that you can go to and chat about business and being a boss and getting advice and giving them. It's like a two-way relationship. So I'm really into that side of things as well, because I feel, because I live, because there's there are, it's sometimes it's unclear what's work and what's not, because my job is blurred often with, I could just always be at work, but I really enjoy it, so you've got to kind of try and sort of split it sometimes. And there's a line, but I also think there's a professional relationship, but I also think there's got to be a real, like, level there. And I really respect people who've got that real level and can kind of be real and honest, and also a good boss.
And have you had any really bad bosses? And what traits make
Oh, that
really
is a
bad
really good question. Do you know what? I don't know.
That is
I'm trying
lovely.
to
Oh my God,
think.
if you've never had any bad bosses, that's like the best.
Well, the thing, I also block out a lot of negativity. I'm trying to think, like going back to when I was, like, I used to work in a car dealership when I was younger. I've worked in a pub. I've worked in, I was cleaning out food tubes on Super Size, Super Skinny, and TV. You've had, like, difficult people,
Food
sure.
tubes.
Yeah. Did you remember Super Size, Super Skinny? I used to have to cook all the food, put them in, and then empty them out afterwards. It was one of the most mean jobs on telly.
Well,
But
that
it,
put you
but
off your dinner.
yeah, but it taught me how to behave and how not to behave on like, in terms of TV, and like all that, like how telly works, how important everyone's roles is. Like, you've got to learn from the bottom up, for sure. Um, I think, no, because I think I've been quite lucky. And I think also because I've been freelance and self-employed for so long, I don't, it's project by project basis, so I don't really have someone who is essentially a boss for that long.
Okay, so here we go. So as
Go
you're
on.
your own boss,
Yeah,
what are
okay.
your worst traits as your own boss in
Oh,
yourself?
procrastination.
Yeah, same.
Definitely. And I think procrastination, and yeah, I think I'm a bit of a, I sometimes motivation, but I have it in spades some days, and I have it in total lack other days, and I think that's just life. And I kind of feel like that's okay. I'm telling myself it's okay,
Yeah,
so I don't have a meltdown
it's
every day.
okay. I'm a procrastinator too,
Mm,
but only with certain things.
okay,
But
like what?
sometimes
What do you
I'm even,
procrastinate about?
I'm trying to think, but like even like not a huge thing, like, oh,
Yeah,
I have to renew my
mate, admin.
membership. Yeah.
Anything admin based, anything to do with accounts.
It would take
I'm a
2
shocker.
minutes. I just don't do. I just put it on.
No, I'm like allergic to things like that. I'm like, I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to engage. Like, like a proper child.
No, I'm the same. And then I think my other bad trait as my own boss is I'm very impulsive.
Okay.
Which is sometimes amazing because I like, come up with an idea for a podcast called The Divorce Club. And
love it.
And then put it out there. And it's sometimes awful because I'm just, reply to things too quickly or make decisions too quickly. And then a week later I'm like, oh, actually.
But then, do you know what I think what's so amazing about that though is that you're actually doing stuff. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of, you're like putting yourself out there, you're doing things, you're agreeing things, you're going out of your comfort zone, you're saying yes things, and you're like, oh, backtrack. It's okay to backtrack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
you got to tip though when other people aren't doing things quickly like I am. I'm like,
that's a really good point. And I think, it's nice to have. So I like having people who hold me accountable to things as well. It's like, so often I will tell someone that what I'm going to do that week, or I'm like, I need to work on this project, and then I'll get them to sort of give me a nudge throughout the week, and like, how's that going? And I'm like, oh, I need to have started it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, but again, I think I work well with a deadline. If you don't give me a deadline, it's like, it's not going to get done because I'll just play with my dog all day.
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
Why would you not? What else is there to do, Sam?
And just to round off, what do you think your best traits are as a boss yourself?
Oh, God, I've got to cheerlead myself. Sam, I don't like this.
What are
my best traits? Such a good question. Shit. Oh, fuck, I don't know. I'm getting shy. I think, probably my enthusiasm, my like determined attitude, and I am a doer. I like to get shit done, and I have ideas, and I'm like, let's do it. And I'm, and I am really creative, and I love that. But I don't necessarily have the other accolades that a boss needs, like admin. And
we're just talking about positives. Don't
no, fine. But
cheerleading. Someone said, Hayley said you have endless enthusiasm.
Oh, thanks, Hayley.
What I would say about you as well is you're always really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Which, like every time I see you, like even if we're flustered or like running between things or like we talk on social media, you're always lovely. And I think that's a really nice thing. Because, you don't, when you're having small interactions with people, sometimes people don't always put an effort into those things.
Yeah.
And sort of, are nice people, but, you don't feel like they're genuinely happy to see you. And I have to say, I always think you're just lovely, which I think is a great quality in a boss.
Thank you. Well, so are you, Sam.
I like this cheerleading section.
I know. We should do this more.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Boss
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Joy.
I can't really feel like I don't really feel like I've added much to the boss conversation.
So much. I've really enjoyed our chat. It's gone. I like it when they go down sort of slightly different routes as well. I like to,
It's important. But how are you, like, how's bossing it going for you at the moment? Are you enjoying doing this series?
Yeah, it's weird in lockdown because I sort of started this series because I just thought it was a really interesting subject. And I love talking to people and interviewing people and hearing their personal stories. Yeah. And there's loads of people on social media. I think sometimes social media gets a bad rap because we all compare ourselves, and there is all of that element. Don't compare and despair. That's one of my favourite sayings, is don't compare and despair. I agree. Yeah. But I think also there's lots of inspiring and amazing people on social media, definitely that I've been exposed to through my social media. So I kind of wanted to share them with my followers or anyone who watches. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. And having something every week that I have to put
Yeah.
makeup on and do is good. But equally, I am really bad at schedules because I'm
Are
self-employed.
you? That really surprises me.
Oh my God, so bad. So like last week I had to postpone the Boss Club.
Mm,
But we'll be doing that one again. So I'll
yeah.
bring my guest back because I was just having one of those days where like, just one of those days, like
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to call it, a mental health day, or like I
A
just
shit
couldn't
day.
do
Let's call
it.
it what it is. A shit day.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this thing, and it's not my job, obviously, because we're not getting paid to do this, we're just having a nice chat. But it sort of feels like part of my job. And then I'm like, oh my God, I can't do my job because I have a mental health thing. So I feel like a crap boss on those days. But then
No.
I was like, no, I need today, if I interview someone in this state, it's not going to be a good
Yeah.
interview.
But do you know
So
what? Good for you for actually like putting that boundary down and being like, do you know what? No, I'm not going to do today, because I would have been like, I've got to do it, push myself, and then being like all flustered and feel like, so, and I think that's like actually really like brave and kind of, strong to be able to do that. So I think you should feel really good about that. And I know of course you'll do that other one, and I bet it's going to be amazing. But it's those kind of actions that we need to kind of like do to ourselves as well as like as you would do for others. So well done for doing this, having a day, taking a day.
thanks.
Sometimes I'm
Yeah,
like, do you know what? I just can't get up for life today. And then I'm
yeah.
like, it'll pass. And tomorrow's a new day. And you can't keep giving. And also you can't flog a dead horse. If you need to rest, you need to rest.
Yeah, and I feel like before this year, I would have just pushed through and done
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the thing was. And actually, this year's made me realize, no, I don't want to do a rubbish job. And in this state, I will do a rubbish job. And
yeah,
then I'll feel bad about myself for doing a rubbish job. Even if it's something small like talking to someone I know on social media,
yeah,
I still want to, give them a nice chat and
yeah,
you a nice chat and everyone watching. So yeah, it's been a funny one. I think some days I feel like I'm bossing it so much that I'm like
yeah.
dancing around my kitchen. Like
Yes,
I've got so much
yes.
done. I do my to-do list and I like tick them off. And then
Love it.
other days I'm literally like in my pajamas. I haven't showered. I smell like BO. My hair's horrific. Like, and I just don't do it. I just sit in front of the TV and watch TV.
But
Um,
that's good. Do you know what? I love those days because I think they're really important. You have to have a duvet day. A duvet day is like really imperative because if
or a
it's like what we were
duvet
saying earlier. Yeah, it's like what
yeah.
you were. Yeah, it's like what you were saying earlier. You can't perform all the time. If it was all positive and brilliant the whole time, you wouldn't have anywhere to go to. You need to kind of come down to be able to build back up again, and that's the roller coaster that is life, and that's the journey that we go on. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's really shit, but that's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I've definitely been going through that, but I'm really enjoying doing this
Good.
because also I just get to talk to people
I love
instead of
it.
a cat. So
Well,
that's good anyway.
yeah, I love it, and I've really enjoyed
Eyeshadow on.
watching them. And I really like your eyeshadow. I did notice that; it looks awesome. Also, I've dug this out because I've got look at the sleeves.
I love that.
It's like literally, I feel like I've wrapped myself up like a little Christmas parcel for you.
I feel like at the moment it's so nice because any sort of thing like this, or if I have a Zoom meeting, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I'm gonna put on really nice makeup or like a
yeah.
new
Put some
not
lippy on,
lipstick,
some new
a shirt
earrings.
on.
Yeah, I put a
Oh my
bow in my hair. I don't think I've ever worn this. I've had it for about 3 years. I went all out.
You look amazing. Thank you for the
Thanks.
effort.
No, thank you. Well, I was like, listen, you gotta show up.
Yeah, and you did. Thank you. Where can people find out more about you if they don't follow your?
So just at my Instagram at pips_Taylor. I've got a link tree there of like lots of things that I've done and that I'm involved in. And just yeah, come and say hi. I love people who slide into my DMs.
In a sexy way, or
No,
just
not in a sec. I don't think anyone's ever really slid in a sexy way. But yeah,
really? I get lots of
do
weird.
you? I love it. Well,
I
oh my
wouldn't
God, like
call
who?
it
Like, oh my
sexy,
God,
but I
stop
think
it.
they believe it's sexy
Yeah.
when they
Well,
stick it.
I just it's weird because I get a lot of people saying, hi, like, and that's nice. I'm like, hi, how are you? Because, it's like, it's the platform for connecting, but equally some days I'm like, oh God, I turn off all notifications. I can't deal with Instagram today. I just think also sometimes it's just too much, isn't it?
Yeah. I get lovely people telling me about their divorce experiences, or just some men being like, hello,
I'm
you have
recently
a
divorced, Sam.
nice, yeah,
Yeah.
you have a nice shoulder, or something
Oh,
that's strange. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
thanks. And
I,
yes,
I
you are
mean,
right.
I do have nice shoulders.
Yeah, I have two of them actually.
But yeah, everyone make sure you follow Pips. Obviously, she's lovely and she's
Oh.
bossing it. And it's been a joy to talk to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for asking me, Sam. I am really thrilled to be on this series alongside some really cool women, and keep doing what you're doing. And I can't wait to see what you do when we come out of lockdown. And I can't wait
Yeah.
to see you for a squeeze and a cocktail.
Yeah. I want to see your dog again,
Yes,
please.
exactly. Oh.
Amazing. Well, yeah, definitely. You can catch up on all of the Boss Clubs over on my IGTV. And as I said, I'm adding them to my YouTube, because on YouTube you can have captions. Yay. Well, Pips, thank you so much. Take care.
Mwah.
And I'll
Thank you
see you
so
soon.
much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.